You were being modest because you actually clawed one back.
The Dolphins' attack is the big one here, and I don't know if the Warriors are going to be able to score enough points. But sometime it's going to have to break.
Yeah, but is it against the Dragons?
Who else is there?
Like, you can't trust the Cowboys. Like, the Cowboys' defense is so bad.
Hello and welcome back to Ahead of the Game Sports Chat with Sports Pez Jez, Tuck Sports Taste. We're in the studio.
I know.
That Jez has built.
I know, it's been a long time coming. It's been a slow production, but now it's here. It's half complete. Wish you could see the other side of this setup where there's just cameras and cables everywhere, but we're here now. It's the first episode. Let's see how it goes being in the same room. I think we've recorded maybe, I don't know, probably 2 or 3 times in the same room. So I don't know. It's going to feel a bit awkward.
But I was going to say, it's going to stop us from talking over each other. But straight away, I was on the backyard.
Yeah.
We have a
trusty
pad to control the scenes and the production.
Mm.
You got the stats in front of you.
Mm.
We're going to see how we can do it. If it's the first time tuning in to the show, we're going to do a round 22 tips and predictions. We base these off of our work with bets.com.au, where we write game previews for NRL, AFL,
NFL soon, NBA soon,
NBL.
Cricket, NBL, what else?
Formula One.
Yeah, so
heaps of
supercars,
stuff
even.
Over there on bets.com.au. You can check it out all for free. And with NRL as well, you get the cheat sheet for each and every game completely free. And that's pretty much all of the stats and all of the info that we speak about on these programs, all bundled into a nice, easy to read cheat sheet. So you can base your tips, predictions, your bets, whatever it is, with a bit of a background, a bit of a base to build it all on.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, you're the guy that builds it, but I'm the one that uses it. I consume it exactly like everybody else does out there. And it just sort of highlights the important things, the important trends that we do base all of our theories and all of the script you write when you're going to have a punt and create sort of the amount of bets that we do for each game. So it just guides you in a good path to be able to make these educated guesses, we like to call them, when you're making predictions.
Yes. I don't think we have much more to get into before we just get into round 22.
Yeah, or let's talk about round 21.
Round 21.
You were being modest because you actually clawed one back. We've been doing this pod for 2 weeks now. And so you can see on the screen how it went for me this week. Ryan had a dud the first week and I out-tipped him by 3. But you clawed one back this week with the Bulldogs Manly game. I was the crazy one, tipping Manly to get over the Bulldogs. But they had such a good, strong head-to-head record that I was like, I can't ignore that. It come up on that cheat sheet you built, you bastard. So
trust the data.
Yeah, apparently not, because the head-to-head battle was clearly won by Manly, but the Bulldogs turned up. I think in that game, if we want to dive into it just a little bit, I think we saw a different Lockie Galvin, Matt Burton combination. I felt Galvin took less risks. He was the one controlling the game or putting in sort of, they worked out who was kicking when, which I think was a big part of it. It's obviously always been Burton as the number one kicker there. And this game, it was a little bit different. They really, really decided, okay, who was in control of what situations, and they were much better in attack. The Bulldogs' attack has been pretty stale. And what did they put up? 34 points or something like that, I think, against Manly. So, yeah, they're maybe back on the radar. They've won 3 in a row, I think, now. And this was a good win for them to actually, it was a big win where they haven't been winning big. So, yeah.
How much do you put that down to Manly's incompetence on that? Like, their defensive decisions were poor. Their attack was non-existent.
Yeah.
Is it? And I feel like a little bit, we talk about this a fair bit with the Bulldogs this season.
Mm.
It's like, are they good at winning, or are their opponents good at losing? Like, take the St. George Illawarra game, for example.
Yeah, well, I think someone was on one of the NRL shows, they were saying, like, who have the Bulldogs beat? I guess this is another team that who have the Bulldogs beat. They beat Manly, that are on the cusp of being in or out of the 8. But yeah, I don't know. At least their defense, I think, was strong, and it was back to Manly scored once. So yeah, I think it's more about I don't know. They looked better, in my opinion, at least in attack.
And none of us tipped the upsets from the weekend.
Of course not.
That's why they're upsets.
Yeah, why would you?
But they were like upsets that you wouldn't have expected in, play the game 10 times. I'd pick the same pick 10 times.
Yeah, 100%. The only thing I think that you probably could have looked at is the head-to-head record for Gold Coast and the Warriors.
Yeah.
Gold Coast actually have won that a lot over the last, I think, 5 years or so. We go back to 2019 in most of the stats that we use, and the majority was Gold Coast. So, maybe that would have made you tip the Gold Coast, but it's still not this year because their defense has been awful, and Des was on the way out. He had a big rant the week before, and apparently it worked. That's all you need to do. Have a rant in the showers, and you'll get a result. But yeah, and Parramatta dominated Brisbane. You'd never you wouldn't pick that. Like we said, Brisbane are on the fly.
It's Mitch Moses. I said at the start of the year, Parramatta are going to be in the 8, and it's because of Mitch Moses and the newfound kind of momentum they had in that team. But then he went down. They fell apart. He came back. They won a few games. He fell down again, and the team disappeared. First game back, they beat the Broncos. It's just... Yeah.
And Lomax scored twice.
Yeah.
And I think that's the combination. I think that's probably a big reason why Lomax went to Parramatta, was because he could have that combination with Moses. And yeah, you see straight away when he's back in the team, Lomax is at his best.
So the standings, it's a little bit too far away for me to read right now.
It's 10-16 and
10 of 16.
10 of 16, and I'm 12 of 16. So you got 2 more to claw back.
Well, let's look at the first game of round 22. The Parramatta Eels taking on the Melbourne Storm. Predicted scorelines, as we've done every week we've done this so far. We have predictive modelling. This modelling is just based on the 2025 season so far. And you have the predicted output here of the points. Parramatta not expected to score more than 20. But again, the Mitch Moses effect. Could this game be closer than what the expected points say?
Yeah, I don't know. Melbourne got away with one, I felt, last week, beating the Chooks. It was much closer than what you thought, but I guess Cam Munster wasn't there. Cam Munster, we're filming this on Monday, so it's before teams come out. Not sure if he will play. He was having some time after his dad's funeral, but I would presume that he'll be in this week anyway. But Jerome Hughes.
Yeah, that's massive for them. Not having him in the team, and I don't know, is there a time frame around his return?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was less than what they originally thought, but it's the rest of the home and away season. So he's back for finals, but it's gonna he controls the game for them. So Munster is Munster, but he's not a game controller, and Jerome Hughes does a lot of the tactical kicking and controls the clock and controls their opponents and controls the territories. So is there another Parramatta upset on the cards or what?
Parramatta 1-9 against top 8 teams so far this season. They're not very good in run meters or getting to the opposition red zone.
But that might be affected now because of the kicking game of Jerome Hughes. So
and of Mitch Moses.
Yeah, exactly. So who knows? It could happen. It's at what I guess it's be at CommBank. So
mark it down for maybe a possible upset, but we're both going to Storm.
Yeah, I was going to say, are you brave enough to tip the Eels? No.
Game 2. It's the New Zealand Warriors hosting the Dolphins, and we're both on the Dolphins here, if I can see correctly.
That is correct.
The projected scoreline has it a very, very tight, only half a point or 1 point really between them in favour of the Warriors. Warriors at home was something that kind of gave me a little bit of a hesitant kind of, are they or are they not? But for me, it's just Tanner Boyd hasn't set the world on fire since he, not in the same aspect as Metcalf earlier. So I think the Dolphins' attack for me is the big one here, and I don't know if the Warriors are going to be able to score enough points to keep in touch with the Dolphins for 80 minutes.
Yeah, I think the big one is that the Gold Coast Titans just beat them at home. So, if that makes you go, okay, we need to work some things out, and it could be the shake-up that they need to settle things down again. And Like having a look like here, like the Dolphins don't really have a very strong away record. They've never won in New Zealand. They've played there twice, and the Warriors have beaten them. But yeah, like it just feels like the Dolphins are coming off the bye. They've had that rest week. They've had time to prepare for this game properly and go over there, and like they are somehow they're a force. Like they've got so many injuries as well, but Christian Wolf has been doing a good job, and I think I think if the Warriors had beaten the Titans last week, I probably wouldn't be tipping the Dolphins.
Yeah.
But it just made me feel like they're not as settled as we thought they were. And yeah, Tanner Boyd's kicking game, like we said when he came in, I think we did a special pod on this channel about it.
Yeah.
And that was the worry. It felt like, being a Gold Coast guy, I've always sort of known exactly, like followed Tanner Boyd, and that was the biggest problem. Is his game control is horrible. Like he has really bad patches where he makes either a bad decision about kicking or the execution is bad. So that's what they have to deal with, and I think the Dolphins will take advantage of it. Just like you said, they'll score too many points.
And some stat lines that really back that up. The efficiency inside 20, the Dolphins rank second in the league. They can score tries when they get into the opposition 20. The New Zealand defense, they allow tries they're ranked 12th in opposition efficiency. So they're allowing tries when teams get to that 20-meter zone. And then you flip it around, and the Dolphins' defense on their line is strong compared to the Warriors' ability to cross once they've built pressure.
Yeah.
So, I mean, got to trust the stats, eh?
Yeah, that's right. That's what we do.
Okay, game number 3 of the weekend and the second Friday night game. The Brisbane Broncos hosting South Sydney Rabbitohs.
Yeah, you would think that this game would be a shoo-in, but
didn't teams play a few weeks ago or not?
Yeah, but there is these types of hitches in the schedule. But this should just be put a line through this one. This one's going to be really simple. But what happened to Brisbane? What happened to Brisbane last week?
And what do you take out of the Rabbitohs pushing the Sharks?
Yeah, the Sharks are awful.
Yeah, right. But do you take anything in terms of the Rabbitohs? The Rabbitohs were up and about, and Cronulla we're going to speak about it in their game, but a mountain of possession in the 20-meter zone, but couldn't score. Can this game be a replica of those two matches that we've spoken about? Can the Rabbitohs pull in 16 points against the Broncos?
Possibly. Like, I think so. It was a really bad performance by Brisbane. They got owned, and they shouldn't get owned. They've got game controllers. You've got Reynolds, you've got Hunt, you've got Mann that should be able to take control of the game and play the territory. I was like putting together our stats this morning, and it was like, just off the top of my head, it was a pretty brutal win for Parramatta when it comes to possession and territory in that game. And that's something that you wouldn't expect that was in Brisbane, I want to say. Or was it a CommBank?
Yeah, I'm not too sure.
Yeah, but either way, they should be able to get out of trouble. They shouldn't be dominated in those periods, not even in a half against Parramatta. But yes, we put it down to, as you said, Mitch Moses. But that shouldn't happen, and they should have the spark to get themselves out of trouble, and they just didn't have that. But you can't tip against Brisbane, against South Sydney. South have been really, really poor. But head-to-head stats, South Sydney have won the last 2. They've won 3 of the last 5.
Oh, wow.
So
when did they
that
play?
can make you
9th of May.
9th of May. And they won 22-14. That would have been around the first Origin. No, that's before that. So
maybe the 2 weeks before, yeah.
Yeah, but either way, that's still pretty massive. And they won 22-14. So.
But all the stats seem to point towards Brisbane as well. The attacking stats, the defensive stats, they're a much stronger team in the middle of the park.
Yeah.
They don't allow their opposition to get a load of run meters, so they keep the pressure away from their goal line.
Yeah, but that didn't seem to help the Sharks last week, because they scored 2 tries. South scored 2 tries with 4 tackles inside 20. So I think the biggest thing is, if we look at our one of our main other stat sheets, it's the defensive stats of South Sydney are very poor. They get controlled, but if you're looking at, say, bottom three stats, they're not in that bottom three really in allowing tries for tackles, ranked 15th in opposition tackles inside their 20, but they're not ranked third in actual tries or in efficiency. So they must be doing something right on the goal line. They deterred Cronulla a lot.
Yeah.
The game was played basically inside their 20, and they still seem to be able to sort that out with Cronulla. So that's something I guess you have to build on. They've been trying to deal with combinations and everything in defence. Now they know, okay, Latrell's out. Whiten's been playing in the halves for a few weeks, so maybe they're settling defensively. So you mightn't expect such a poor defensive game from them, or at least an improvement. They were like, off the top of my head as well, it was like 35 points per game in their last 5 games they were averaging. So they were getting pumped. But they've been working on it, I guess, and maybe it's better, or you get confidence from a game like they played against Cronulla.
Yeah.
So still not brave enough to tip the Rabbitohs to beat the Broncos, but like we're expecting a 16-point turnaround. Maybe it's something if you're having a punt that you're looking at the 1 to 12 because there's probably some good value there. But yeah, we'll see. Like it depends. How does Brisbane respond after that, losing to one of the wooden spoon contenders?
Yeah, and that really puts the wooden spoon race in a bit of a new light as well. So we'll see once we get closer. The first game of Super Saturday, the Titans on the back of a win hosting Penrith. Now, I'm surprised that the predicted scoreline here is so close. It's within a converted try, but it is taking into account the whole season. And Penrith's defense over the last 5 or 6 rounds has just been phenomenal. I think we said it was getting into the realms of under 10 points per game.
Yeah. It probably is that now. Like it'd be probably pretty close to that. I can pull it up for you while you
pull it up.
Pull it up. Pull it out and pull it up.
But the Titans, I think, watching them last weekend in their game, their victory, is the way that they were more kind of offensive in their attack. Jaden Campbell running and backing up and just being so elusive in the middle of the field. And I think that's something that we've seen with games he's missed. They've really struggled to have that go forward and the support play. But as well, I think he motivates other people to do the same kind of thing. And that's what the Titans have kind of lacked, is like it's a bit of leadership throughout the field, around the field, and say, okay, guys, this is what I'm doing. I'm the smallest guy on the field. Watch me and do the same as me, because you're bigger, you're faster, you're stronger. You should also be able to do it.
Yeah, but that's not going to work against Penrith.
No.
And here, the last 5 games, they're averaging 9.2 points against. So, like the Titans, yes, their strength is attack, and their strength is probably also scoring tries from wherever on the field. I think they can make line breaks from their own. Yeah. From their own end. They're not necessarily a team that needs to build pressure to score tries, but I think it's something that Penrith had a problem with at the start of the year, and they have obviously fixed that. The predictive score was what the Titans are going to score 20 points. I'll be backing the under. Like I don't know what it is actually at the bookies, but they're not going to score 20 points against Penrith this week. So. And then you can obviously see that Penrith's defense will hold up, and their attack put on a whole heap of points this week. And they've obviously got all of their Origin guys back. And I think the confidence that they have of during that Origin period where all of their players were out and missing games, and I think it built something that's very dangerous for the league in Penrith, because you have guys like Tulangi, you've got guys like Jenkins, McLean, that they were these sort of new guys that have come in, and now they've been a part of a surge where they've won 7 in a row with some of these key players in and out. And I think the big one for me, like I've been hot on Tulangi for a while, obviously, and this move to Penrith was it didn't go sort of to the script that I thought it would have in my head. He wasn't even starting the first few games, and then he come in and he was sort of making mistakes, trying to force that he deserves to be there and play maybe up to a standard of Cleary where he's not there yet, definitely. But he could be. And now it feels like, okay, he's falling into his role now. He's starting to pick and choose when he tries to do something special. And sometimes, yeah, he's still making mistakes, but other times he executes it perfectly. And I think that's something he's going to learn. And I think that becomes extremely dangerous as they move towards the finals, because all of a sudden they've got this back to the Cleary and how scary he is. And then also, okay, we need to keep one eye on Talangi as well, because he can also do something special, a little bit like they had with Jerome Luai.
Yeah.
Like all of a sudden they've got these 2 points of attack, which they didn't have at the start. So now we might start seeing Penrith putting up points, and they just West, the game was a little bit close, but they still played their game, wore West down, and then scored at the end of each half. And that's what they always have done. And that's the scary thing for the rest of the league. Like, they should be favourites.
Well, it's the discipline as well that they didn't have at the start of the season when they were losing. They were making errors. They were doing bad defensive reads and bad choices. But now that discipline has come back into the team when it's a little bit more stable with all the guys there. They're playing on a week-to-week basis. They're all at training. And you can see that they're not making those bad decisions or those errors at the same rate as what they were making at the start of the season. And they're clicked in. And it's a long season. And we've spoken about this peaking at the right time of the season. And we spoke about the Bulldogs predominantly over the past little bit about how they maybe have peaked a little bit too early. But now the Panthers, with 4 weeks left of the season, or whatever it could be, 6 weeks. No, what are we, round 22? 5 weeks. They're starting to peak at the right time.
Yeah.
Their average winning margin on the road this season was over 16 points.
Yeah, wow.
So on the road at the Titans, I think this one's a pretty easy pick for me.
It should be. Yeah. Should be. We'll see next week.
Finally, here we have one where we're taking opposites. The Dragons hosting the Canberra Raiders. Now, the Dragons, they've done me a couple of times this season, both when I've tipped them and both when I've tipped against them. And I just think this could be a spot where Canberra, with the role that they've been on and the momentum they've carried and the amount of wins they've had in a row, all of those things, you go to Wynn Stadium. The Dragons are exceptional at Wynn Stadium. And they've been in so many games this season, and they've lost by 1 point, 2 points, 4 points. I think this is a good letdown spot for Canberra. They've got their eyes on finals. They got their eyes on that minor premiership, which is almost all but locked up with Melbourne losing. I just think that the Dragons could upset them here.
I don't know if this would be the game that I'd be picking to. Well, I'm not picking that Canberra are going to lose their streak, and they were impressive against Newcastle. Newcastle have good defense. They put on a heap of points against Newcastle.
But sometime it's going to have to break.
Yeah, but is it against the Dragons?
Who else is there?
Like it could. I don't know. All of a sudden, this is going to be a stroke of genius, and you'll.
Or they're going to get done by 50.
But but like I just don't. I don't think that the Dragons have the quality to be able to outgrind Canberra. Canberra had a big win, which they don't usually have. So, I don't know. I don't see this one being a game where there is an upset. But you never see a game where there is an upset. And I don't know. It's really going to be hard to tip against Canberra on the run home. But you're right; they will likely have a loss, and it'll probably be really good for them to have a loss. But against the Dragons, I don't know.
All right, there's not a lot of stats backing me up here. The Raiders are 10-2 against the bottom 9 teams. They've won 5 straight against the Dragons. Line breaks, run meters, they're all top 3. The Dragons, they're not good in stats. There's nothing really that's... They're just... Efficiency inside 20.
They're not good.
When they get inside the 20, they can score points, but they don't get to the 20 very often. So that's the sticking point.
Yeah, that's pretty key in that whole discussion, really.
I think the one that kind of got me most here is the closeness of the Dragons games so far this season. They're at home at Wynn Stadium, where they have a good record, and also the closeness of the majority of Canberra's games this season as well. I think it's just a little bit of a melting pot that could turn out.
If there is anything of all the bullshit you've just talked about, the Dragons actually getting a win here, it's that. It's the 1 to 12 games of Canberra and the 1 to 12 games of St. George. But the difference, the big difference in that is those 1 to 12 games, Canberra win, and the 1 to 12 games,
St. George
lose. But it takes one bad kick or, a missed tackle and all of that changes. So that's what we've said is scary about Canberra, is that's what it takes. And all of a sudden they're knocked out and they go lose both of their games in the finals because they're used to playing these tight games. And so I don't know. We'll see.
All right. The first Sunday game, is it? No. Final game of Super Saturday. Manly at home to the Roosters. Now, we have spoken about Manly and their form at home, not only this season, but for a number of seasons. They are still, despite their shit run this year at 4 Pines Park, they're still by far and away the best home team over the last 6 seasons.
Yeah.
Better than Melbourne, better than Penrith, better than who else has been good? It's probably those two teams that you'd put there over a long period of time. Manly, they're better.
Yeah.
But the predictive modelling says they're going to win by a converted try.
Yeah.
I can't get behind it. I just think Manly's performance last week, both defensively and in attack, it didn't fill me with any confidence. Tommy Turbo he looked like a guy that didn't want to be out there and was a little bit lost. I think Hopewadi at fullback is the future for this team, and I think it's good that they're pushing that and keeping Turbo out of there. But there's just so many other spots, and now the Olakuatu on the sidelines with a dislocated shoulder. You don't know how long he's going to be out. It's just I don't see where Manly get that spark back because they've got nothing to fight for anymore.
They are still fighting for a top 8 spot, aren't they? They're still in the race, I believe. And I've tipped Manly just because I don't know. I don't know. Like I've tipped Manly. The thought behind it was how'd have the game against Melbourne was like closer than what I thought, and I feel that ultimately it's the Roosters defense that I don't have a lot of faith in, and I think Manly at home against Roosters defense I think is where I've sort of gone, all right, this is potentially it's not an upset because Manly are favourites, but I think it's a lot of people will be tipping the Roosters there, but I think that's what I'm most afraid of. Like if they get a roll on at 4 Pines Park, then all of a sudden there's too many points there for the Roosters to be able to catch up on, even though Manly have been poor, but their defensive record is extremely good at 4 Pines Park. Usually it's been a little bit up and down this year, but so that's where what I'm putting it on. Manly are a good team where they can build pressure. They hold possession when Cherry Evans is in the zone. It's easy to do that in front of your own crowd on your own field. So, that's why. And I don't know. We needed to pick a couple. I got to give you a chance to get back, but I think I genuinely think that the Seagulls will turn up at home and put in a better performance than what they did last week.
You've got some stats to back up at least your point about Manly having the ability, and it's holding the ball. They are ranked second in possession and second in opposition possession, which I guess goes hand in hand. Yeah. But you're never going to win a game by not having the ball in your hand to not be able to score points.
Yeah.
So, you can go through the season, you can have ups and downs in your attacking form, but as long as you got the ball in your hands, you're always a chance in this league, I think. And with the caliber of players that they do have on their team, you can never discount them. I'm just thinking they're at a point in this season where I don't see enough from them to fill me with confidence that they're going to turn up week to week. They might turn up next week this weekend against the Roosters, and the Roosters might have a poor game. But I don't think it's the consistency that well, they're lacking consistency.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
But that for me is a point why I'm tipping Manly because they played like shit.
Yeah.
Or they got dominated. They got absolutely dominated by the Bulldogs and didn't have the ball, which is something that they've been able to do.
Yeah.
But the Bulldogs just did it so much better.
Yeah.
And it is this whole role with Turbo playing centers. They look dangerous. He floated a little bit on both sides and played a little bit of that fullback role in attack early in the game, it felt. But later in the game, it just didn't sort of eventuate. So it'll be interesting to see how Turbo now progresses and develops playing in the centres and how Manly use him. But this is a huge match on the ladder. Manly sit 9th on 24 points and the Roosters sit 22nd, 22 points in 10th.
Oh, there you go.
So this is huge for both the Roosters and for Manly and their aspirations to play in the finals this year.
All right. Game 7 of round 22 is the West Tigers hosting the Canterbury Bulldogs, a Western Derby or inner Western Derby, if you like. We've both taken the Bulldogs here. The projected scoreline, I think, is a little bit closer than what we would have set ourselves, considering just how the drop-off of the Tigers has been over the kind of past 6 or 7 weeks, and just also based on Canterbury's attack.
Yeah.
The last 2 weeks of Lockie Galvin.
Yeah, like I said, I felt like Canterbury had an improved performance last week. Their attack was more settled. Everything sort of ran a little bit more machine-like than it has since he started. And that should only get better. And now they get to play against Wests that have been poor. They had nothing in attack. And they're coming up against a really similar beast like the Penrith Panthers defense in the Canterbury Bulldogs defense.
Yeah.
So it's going to be hard to see them score enough points to win this game. And then obviously if Canterbury can just build pressure and then they have their weapons, like Karaz, man, like watching that game, like it's I think even one of the commentators said, look, I think that Kevy Walters could possibly be even looking at Karaz as a winger in Australia, where you go like that's not possible. But he's playing at that type of caliber, and he does all the work. He's like takes like front rower type hit ups coming out of his own end. He just runs straight. He doesn't fuck about. Like he's like off the fence type of hit ups and like gets drilled.
Yeah.
A lot of the time he gets hammered and then just gets up, and then his ability to finish is amazing. So like also in this game, I just see it's as simple as Panthers. The Tigers can't score enough points, and Canterbury have their attack that's getting better and better and more settled. So it should be an easy one.
So some stats to go through here. The Bulldogs are just machines. 2nd in run meters, 3rd in tackles inside their opposition 20, 1st in possession, 1st in territory. And then you look on the defensive side, they are 1st or 2nd in run meters, line breaks, tackles in 20, possession and territory. So over the length of a season, these stats do produce wins. And I think against the Tigers team that are inconsistent with scoring, their defense is lacking. They're getting towards the end of the season, and they've made strides in what they are as a club, but they're not at the same level yet as these other teams. So Canterbury Bulldogs to take that one in the second last game. And we finish off with one that was also difficult. And I almost contemplated changing my tip before we started because you almost convinced me. But you're also on the Sharks. Sharks to beat the Cowboys at home. A very big margin predicted here by our computer model, 32 points to 17.
And there's a massive head-to-head count here as well. Sharks have won 12 of the last 14 against North Queensland. Won the last 2. So like you can't trust the Cowboys. Like the Cowboys' defense is so bad. But they do have the ability to score points. They can get themselves out of trouble occasionally by their attack. And Tom Dearden, he's type of guy like Mitch Moses. You take Tom Dearden out of the team and they're in major trouble because he's a phenomenon. Like he's got to also be pushing for selection in the Kangaroos tour to England because he's changes the game. He turned the game on its head last week as well. He's an absolute gun, but you just can't trust their defense. And Cronulla have struggled to score, but they've been finding ways to score points.
What I'm a little bit if you can just while I'm speaking here, the Cowboys' ability to score points against the Sharks over their last kind of 5 or 6 games, I don't think one game they've scored more than 20 points.
Yeah.
I'd like to know the average going back, maybe 6 or 8 games
of the Cowboys against
the Sharks. Because I think sometimes you get these games where the matchup is just the right type of matchup. It's the body on body or the way that players play or think that the matchup works. And I think this game might be one of those where the Cowboys just struggle against the Sharks for some reason.
Yeah, they're averaging 14 points in the last 6 games, so from the 2023 season. So that's an average of 14 points, and you compare that to what the Sharks score, or average of 33. So there is something there. I think you're spot on there.
But it's just, again, the Sharks last weekend, this disappointing. I brought Nico Hines into my super coach 2 weeks ago and didn't trade him out for Cleary.
Yeah.
And just kill me.
Yeah. They were poor. But they do have good defense. The Sharks have really, really big periods where they're an extremely strong defensive team. But they are coming up against a loose and unpredictable attack. So this could absolutely be an upset, but I think you've got to rely on the Sharks at Shark Park.
Yes. All right. Well,
so which ones did we tip different? You tipped the Saints over Canberra.
Yeah.
And I've tipped Manly to beat the Roosters.
Yeah.
So 2 different this week.
I could be catching up to you.
Yeah, it could be all tied. It could be all locked
up. Before we round off, if you bring up try scorer trends here, give a bit of a taste as to what could be in the cheat sheets this weekend. Zac Lomax scored 3 straight for the Eels, so a good guy to keep a look on there. Halasima for the Warriors.
What a gun. He's going to be the best forward. Wait, I just spat on you. That's what you got to deal with when we're in the same studio. You got to have one of those
visors.
Yeah, dentist visors on.
So I'll call in sick next week.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, he's an absolute gun. He's going to be one of the best forwards in the game shortly, I would presume, sooner rather than later, because he's already a gun. He just was carrying guys. So, and scores. He scored in his last 3, but his record's probably 6 or 7 in the last 5 or 6 games. So he's a try scoring machine.
Dolphins conceded the first try in 3 of the last 4, and I want to think it's been quite a lot of games this season where they've conceded but then gone on to win.
Yeah.
Billy Walters scored 3 straight games for the Broncos.
Yeah. He's been good off the bench, and he changes the game, I think, for them. They've got to find a way to get him more involved.
Yeah.
So we saw he's a massive influence.
Tyrell Sloan for the Dragons has been in and around the try scoring, but they've also conceded the first try in 3 straight games. The Raiders, they're up and down as well with first tries conceded and scored. But I think, watching them last week, they might score first, and the Dragons kind of get going a little bit towards the end of each half. So,
Andy hit Kyle Weeks' first try scorer this year.
It was a bloody good try too. Yeah. He scored in 3 of 4 games for the Raiders, and they've scored in 3 straight. First in 3 straight. Manly, Jason Saab.
Yeah.
I was on him because he'd scored quite a few in a row, and the first try as well. But then he was out a couple of games, so I don't know what the record there has turned into, but 3 of his last 4 as well. He has scored. Ruben Garrick, Tolu Kola, they're all scoring, save for last weekend.
Yeah, except last weekend. That's why all 3 of those guys are going to score this week, and they're going to beat the Roosters.
But one guy that we have spoken about, me and you, off air, is Daniel Tupou.
Yeah.
And talking about Australian selection or even, through Origin, he was still, the guy's a gun.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Or he where is he? Is he Samoan or Tongan? He can also end up popping up there in there. in the Pacific Championships at the end of the year as well. So
he's one of the Cook Islands. No.
Yeah, I don't know, somewhere there.
So he has scored in 3 straight games. Tedesco 3 of the last 4 for the Roosters. Bulldogs scored the first try in 6 of their last 7. That's a big one. So they get up and out early, try and overpower their opponents straight away.
Back St. George to score the first try in that one.
Tigers.
Tigers.
Or what?
Oh yeah,
Tigers versus
Tigers.
Bulldogs.
Oh yeah. All right. St. George.
Scott Drinkwater scored 4 tries. Scored in 4 of the last 5 for the Cowboys. He's also just on fire, and I think he must have seen the video we did on ranking NRL fullbacks, and that we had him so high up, and he said, "I got to repay you boys."
Yeah, you think so?
And it's turning into a masterpiece.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, like he is. I don't rate him as high as you rate him, but he's scoring tries, and he's obviously one of the key cogs in that flashy attack of the Cowboys.
Yeah,
but I don't know. Maybe they should focus. He should focus a little bit more on organising their defensive line than scoring tries.
All right, we're done. Round 22 in the books. Don't forget to find us and follow on the socials. NRL News on Facebook is also a good place to look at and follow, because you're going to get a heap of game previews and some other content through there.
Yeah.
But head over to bets.com.au. Check out the game previews for each and every NRL game, as well as the cheat sheets. Let us know in the comments how you're picking this weekend.
Yeah, or anything you would like us to chat about or discuss or break down, if it's, especially statistically. We like talking about stats, so let us know down in the comments if there's anything you want us to try and cover or dive into.
Sweet.
Otherwise, hang with us and stay ahead of the game.